one, go.
Hi, my name is Norman Corbet. I'm 45 years old. I'm a filmmaker here in London, and I'm going to plan my own funeral.
All right, what is the name of your documentary?
This documentary is called Better Off Dead.
And
Okay. The idea for this documentary came from a conversation I had at Thanksgiving. Someone had come up and pitched an idea about doing a documentary on funeral homes. I then went home and looked up online just any information I could find about funeral homes. And the first thing I found was this great, huge list of details that you need to cover when planning your funeral. And as soon as I saw that, I knew that I was going to plan my own funeral. Hello, my name is Norman Corbet. I'm a filmmaker producing a documentary about planning my own funeral, and I was wondering who I should talk to about an interview on your business and permission to film at your location. Hello, my name is Norman Corbet. Hello, my name is Norman Corbet. Hi, my name is Norman Corbet. I'm a filmmaker doing a documentary about planning my own funeral. I was wondering if there's anyone I could speak to about filming at your location. Oh, really? Okay.
My name is Brad McQuaig. I work here at Mount Pleasant Cemetery. I'm the crematorium operator, and I've been in this job for the last 6 years. Cremation is just a process. The body arrives, and then sometimes it arrives with all the papers, and we can cremate immediately. Other time, the family has to meet and sign all the necessary paperwork. You have to have a death certificate from the physician. You have to have a coroner's permission to cremate, because once you cremate, there's nothing left to look at.
There's no evidence of
nothing.
any kind.
So
yeah.
the coroner has to give a special certificate saying that he has no further interest in investigating. And then the family has to sign a bunch of papers. So I put the cremation, in a cremation retort, you cannot just put a raw body. In Ontario, you must be in a rigid container, either wood or cardboard or a casket. You must be in something. And so we have standard cremation containers, very simple, just a wooden tray and a cardboard lid. It looks like an upside down shoebox. So we put the person in that, but we have to check them for pacemakers first, because a pacemaker will explode because there's a battery in the pacemaker, and that can be very dangerous. To me, if the door is open and I'm looking in and the thing goes off, bang. So if there's a pacemaker, it has to be removed. Then you put the body in, turn the machine on. It takes about 2.5 hours for the human tissue to evaporate. And as you saw, the bones are still there. It's not ashes. Ashes are a very nice word. I think it comes from the Bible. That's why they use the word, but they're not ashes. They're bones.
Then the ashes.
So it takes about 2.5 hours for the body, through heat and combustion and evaporation. 2.5 hours will usually do it, unless you're a very large person. The problem is the wood. The wood from the container. Wood doesn't burn as well as you think it does. It takes maybe another hour for the wood to burn up. And if you have a full casket, that's a lot of wood. It probably would, I would let it go overnight, and after the machine shuts off after about 4 hours, but it's still hot in there, and so the wood smolders away to nothing. And in the morning when I open it up, there's nothing but the bones remaining. So, and then after that, you sweep out. There's a method to sweep all the remains out, and then I put them on a processing table, and I have to go through them with a powerful magnet, because there are all kinds of screws and staples and pins and hinges and catches and clasps that hold that box together. So I have to take all the magnetic material out that I can. Then I go through it with my bare fingertips, because there are other metals in there that are not magnetic, like surgical screws, surgical wire, replacement hips and replacement knees. I have boxes full of those. They're made of titanium, and they're extremely valuable as a recycled metal. So we send everything off for recycling. Seen those before. You can tell somebody's had an ortho surgery.
Yep.
Those are quite common, actually.
Yeah.
And so it takes a bit of time. And then dental work, like bridges, crowns, that all survives the heat. So I have to take all that out. and had a conversation with my dentist about that. And I said, this is very valuable metal. And he said, oh, I know. I make those things. I sell them. They're very costly. And then when it's totally pure, when there's no other contaminants, no metals, nothing in it, then I put it through a machine. It looks like an oversized blender. It's got a spinning blade, and it reduces the bones to powder and little tiny bits of bone that are too hard. It looks like beach sand with a little bit of gravel in it, small gravel. And then that's transferred into a plastic bag, and then we put that in an urn, and that's presented to the family, and then they can do with it what they want. They can bury the urn, they can take it home and put it in their bedroom closet or on their mantelpiece. We have a scattering garden too. That's actually quite a popular option, a beautiful garden here. And the families can scatter the remains, and then they can have a bronze plaque made up and applied to this marble wall that gives the date of birth and date of death and the name of their loved one. So if somebody in the family wants to go someplace and actually see something, they can go to our scattering garden, and they can see where their loved one was scattered. Or we have things called columbarium niches. They're just it's like a marble wall with a kind of a door on it, and you can put the urn inside that little niche, and then they can make up a bronze plaque. It's kind of like a condo, but smaller.
On such and such a day, Norman Charles Courbet passed due to such and such an illness. He is survived by whoever is around. He was a graduate of both Western University and Fanshawe College. London, Ontario was where he made his home for the last 20 years. He was a passionate and creative individual who loved reading, photography, and filmmaking. He often took a different path than others, but was a devoted stepfather to two girls, his friends, and his loved ones. Born in Montreal to French-Canadian parents, he left the province to seek opportunities not available to them. A lifelong love of learning and growth led him to study filmmaking later in his life. Funeral services will be held on such and such a day. The family requests that in lieu of flower donations will be made either to social service agencies or to arts programs in London.
Hi, my name is Jared Whitman. I'm 63 and I live here in London, Ontario.
Okay.
Well, one was a friend of mine named Gary who was my age. He played football for Western. He was healthy as a horse, and he had an aneurysm on a Tuesday and was gone by Friday. Yeah. And when I first started this, I was misdiagnosed. And they had told me I had Alzheimer's, and I didn't.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, that was a really dumb doctor. I'm diabetic, and I had low blood sugar when I took a memory test and didn't do very well on the memory test, and she took away my driver's license.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
So my ex got all excited and decided I was going to die.
And then you started planning your own funeral?
And took out life insurance.
Oh.
A lot of my concern is about the people that will be there, the people that I've left behind. Well, I have no family. They've all passed away now, and there's no one else to really plan it if anything happens to me, so I decided to do everyone a favor and get it all planned and finished so that if something does occur, everything is in place. Well, because the ones that there are left would find it too overwhelming.
Okay.
Well, there's songs that mean a lot to me, that say something, that I pick them carefully, that they say something, they mean something. They're not just, I didn't want hymns, but I wanted something that actually described me. Example, there's one called When the Rain Begins to Fall.
Okay.
And a line in that song goes, when the rain begins to fall, you can ride my rainbow in the sky. I'll catch you if you fall. You never have to ask me why. When they're at that sad day, that I'll still be there to catch them if they fall.
I think that my reflections on this documentary, that I have really changed my opinion about planning your funeral. It's an important aspect of your life. It is a very serious and difficult time for the people that you leave behind, and that even bumbling through and making fun of myself through this process, that planning your funeral is the one thing that you can do for your family when you're not there.